Hello, you're welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. My guests today, guests today are two young men who are lighting the path, charting the way for the next generation of Nigerians who, in a short while, will be fully in charge of running our society. To my left is Joshua Alabi. You're welcome, Joshua. And then to my right, even though both of them are sitting in front of me, is Aniefio Ian. You're welcome too. Now, these gentlemen are involved in an organization called Kenensaw Concepts, right?
Yes.
Now, they will tell us what Kenensaw is all about. So Joshua, you're the founder.
Yes, I am.
What's Kenensaw?
Kenensaw means what are you saying, or what is he saying?
Okay.
And for us, it's about what we want to say as young people. Many years ago, we thought that Nigeria is a country that is very rich, not just rich in culture and tradition, and with all the languages that we have, we're rich in talent, young people, creativity. So above all the news around Nigeria about how young people are into all sorts, as young people within this same generation, how do we change this narrative? What do we want to say? How do we say it? So that's how we found Kenensaw.
Kenensaw, what's the platform that you're using to propagate these ideas?
So our platform is basically the creative industry, film and theater, and that we have done from what I would say successfully, and we are still pushing more. We want the world to hear our voices. We have something that we know that the world needs to hear. We are telling our own story, original story. So we want the world to hear us. We want the world to see us from a different perspective. I'll just quickly chip this in. We did a project called Imagination TV, and it was all about how do we see each other? So when you call Nigeria, how are we seen outside? Some people think Africa is a country. Some people don't even know Nigeria exists. So we are always out there telling these stories.
Okay. So now, Joshua, why did you guys choose that platform, the platform of theater, of film, of acting and all that? Why?
So I would like to say theater. Firstly, Kenensaw is more of a theater organization. We do quite a lot with documentaries and all of that. Still, when you watch all our works, it's still from theater. And why did we choose theater? Because theater is where the live action is. There is no cut. It has a power of its own. It provokes you, the audience, into doing something. Someone is in front of you, acting in a very intense way. You need that feedback. That person needs to feed on you while you're feeding on the person at the same time. The synergy that it creates. So that's why we chose the platform of theater and film and documentaries.
All right. So both of you have backgrounds in theater arts.
Yes.
So you're classmates or something?
Okay. So, yes, we're classmates, and I like to tell the story. How we started Kenensaw.
Kenensaw now.
In 2010, thereabout, I was in Unilag, Creative Arts Department. I came to study theater. And I had tried this years before then. I was in UI theater department. I left there, went to LASU theater department. It didn't work out until I got to Unilag. And we were about 150 in my class.
That's a large class.
Large class. Few months or about a year later, I realized that every other person, all 149 people, had come to Unilag to study something else. either to study law or philosophy or mass comm or
you
something
were
else.
the
Only one
original theatre arts student.
So because they didn't meet the cutoff, the usual thing, they were all dumped
Into
into the department, and it was obvious the way they did things, the way they handled the assignments and practical works. And for me also, even though many of them didn't know I was a student until after 2 years.
How come? Stop. How come you didn't know he was a student?
Okay, so Joshua is that one person that you look for in class. So for me, I didn't know he was even a student.
You thought he was probably
I thought he was
a graduate assistant?
Yes, so someone that just come and work with lecturers and leave until like maybe when we were finishing like second semester in 100 level, and I'm like, okay. So I get to see him when all other people are rehearsing, and I get to say, and I'm like, oh, okay.
He's one of us.
So you're a student here. This gentleman that always comes with a big bag on his back. So you're a student actually. Yeah, so that's it.
What was in that bag?
Everything, my toothbrush, my clothes for the next few days, soap, food, books, yes,
Why
just
did
anything.
you live like that?
Well, I didn't know. So I enjoyed carrying my bag. And because of the nature of my work, I would probably leave school to another film set, to another rehearsal. So I'll end what I need to do maybe around 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. midnight that same day. And I can't go back home, so I just have to crash somewhere around or that same place. So it was just really easy for me to get things done.
And your parents didn't complain?
I wasn't even living with my parents. I had left my parents since about age 13, 14, thereabout.
Oh, really? So it was easy for you to just be yourself?
Yes, it was.
No qualms?
No qualms at all. They also didn't know what was going on. I had left my dad's house because he didn't want me to study theatre. He kicked against
I wanted
it.
to hear that now.
He didn't want me to study theatre.
What did he want you to study?
He wanted me to be an accountant.
Oh.
So he did all he could. But also, my passion for theatre, my passion for telling stories, came from my mom. My mom then, even though a very devout Christian, but she was a choir mistress, a fashion designer. She played the instrument. So everything my mom did, I learned because we're also very close. And I still do.
Wow.
I make a lot of things. I can make soap. They laugh at me sometimes that what can't I do? I make so many things. I can do so I can make money from so many things. But then I would go with my mom to the village. She used to attend the different festivals, Shango festival. Her father was a Shango worshipper and was a Lord. So he would pull tricks and magic, and I fell in love with the whole color, costume, music, dance, the gun shooting. Everything was just really interesting to me, and that was where the passion for telling stories, for acting, for performing.
We will come back to you and your mom, because you just revealed something that's very, very interesting and key in the process of development of a person. Right now, and if you're in your case, his bag attracted you or what?
Yes.
How easy was it for you guys to hit it off?
Well, it was quite easy for us to hit it off because I saw someone with fire. I saw someone with passion. And for one, I was not one. I didn't come to study theatre in the first place.
What was your original interest?
My original interest was law. I came to study law, and unfortunately, I always say fortunately, I fall short 2 cut-off marks. I think 3 off law. I was angry. I was pissed because at the time I could study any other course in the University of Lagos, even medicine, apart from law. So I said, I'm going to do JAM again. I need to study law. And they said, come, this guy, no waste time, now high cut-off, go find something to study.
Okay.
So I went back, I said, okay, I'll do a change of course. And they convinced me that 1 year you can go back and study law if you don't like it. And I found myself there.
And 1 year in?
I'm 1 year in,
you
and
were
I'm
fully
like,
in.
okay, I don't think that this young man can be serious in court anyway. So, and when I saw him, he had this drive, he had this passion, like, he made me believe you can actually make a living out of being a theatre practitioner.
That's good.
That was what I saw. I'm like, okay, you have the fire. You know what? Let me join you. Let me bond with you. Let's do this together.
That was to burn or to bond.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break here now. When we come back, we'll resume our talk with these two gentlemen who are shining the light on a very glorious path, I believe. Welcome back. It's still Timeless Conversations on this channel. My two guests, two wonderful young men. Let me simply call them Joshua and Inefioke, right? I got that right?
Yes.
Very good. Before we took the break, you were talking about your mom and her influence on you when it comes to the development of the theater bug in you. You said she is a devout Christian, but still related with her father, who was a Shango worshipper and the head hunter of the community. Which community was that?
Modakeke in
Osun State. Okay. Now, how were you able to balance those different belief systems that you saw?
For me, it wasn't totally different. Firstly, I was in love. I was all out for the fun and the depth of it. The music in church, I would sing, I would play the harmonica, I would perform acting, drama, work and with people, with other young people. Same thing in the village. The people would work together, would sing together, make clothes, and there was the performance bit. So for me, it was more about the performance and the engagement, how the people work together to have fun.
You said something about making clothes.
Yes, they made clothes. They made their costumes.
Okay.
All the hunters and I remember I used to meet with some of the unifers. Then they used to make their own clothes, tying the beads, dye some of them, and it was fun. It was entertaining.
So it was like a hands-on thing for you.
Yes, it was a hands-on thing for me, and I didn't totally understand the depth of
there was some mystery to what
the mystery, yes, and the depth of this is Christianity, it was the same thing. I only remember that then my dad used to kick against my mom taking me there because he saw how engrossed and yes, I was with this thing. I didn't know there had to be, you had to choose one, Christianity or this, but I think on the long run, both have built me. I mean, I believe I'm a Christian, but at the same time, I understand culture and I love it, and I use my culture to tell religious stories sometimes.
So many years after, do you still relate with your granddad?
Yes, I mean, even though they are all late now.
Yes.
But yes, I really do. There's an aspect of them in everything that I do.
That you do. That's very good. Now, he was the one that brought you into all of this. But since you got into it, what has it been like for you?
Since I got into it, for me, I tell people that I couldn't have made it as a lawyer.
Wow.
Yes, I tell people that because for me, this is an expression. It allows you to, what I would say, impersonate any character that you want to be. It gives you the freedom to express yourself. So we have the liberty to go on stage and look the politician in the eye and tell him that you're corrupt. And he can't do anything about it.
Yes.
So for me, that freedom that I enjoy is what I value the most.
Okay.
Yes, it's a place to hear my voice. It's a place for my opinion to be heard.
Okay. Now, there's something you guys have said you've done about training about 10,000 young men. How did you do that?
Okay, so when we say we've trained over 10,000, but not just in Nigeria, students
you said
and teachers. KIFT. In the area of arts, we teach young people, we teach secondary school, primary school children, and then we also work with communities. We have series of trainings. There's also something called the lab. So there's Bariga Lab, Oregon Lab, Ikeja Lab, where we teach young people on hands-on skills, photography, animation, and different things. We also teach business of creativity. So it's quite a lot that we do. And we work with communities as well on our advocacy project, our theatre for development. We research a lot. We work with some of the NGOs, and it's quite a large community.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your Bariga experience. How did you, coming from your background, you know, and then ending up in Bariga?
It was,
What was that
I mean,
like?
yeah, I mean, that's also part of how the second bit of how Kenisor was formed.
Yeah.
I'd always been curious about, you know, asking questions and wanting to know things. So I found myself in Bariga. I like to, you know, express it that way. I had lived in Ogba and then to Alagbado. And even that area of Alagbado, my father built his house. It still felt like we were living in our own interesting space. We had everything. And then I went to Bariga, smelling, you know, kids. And then Bariga was very, you know, one of the most violent places in Lagos. You would go to the downtown, you would go to down Ilaje or Sosa. You'd find young people with guns and, you know, so on. It was terrible for me. I joined a theatre company there, and we were always in constant battle, constant confrontation with the
street talks.
The street, you know, with the streets, and then with the artists. We were the only people who could face them, who could. We had no guns, but we would take our performance to the streets or to their base and then begin to dance and begin to do some poetry. And they would get angry, scream. They couldn't harm us because while they were trying to recruit some young people, we were also trying to recruit some young people. And that's how the art in Bariga has blossomed so much. And yes, in my quest to wanting to say something, to ask questions, that's how we formed Kenisor to say, what do we want to say? We want to say that Nigerians, young people in Nigeria can do better, can say, can be bold enough to look into the eyes of any leader and say, you're not doing it right, you have to do it right. How do we do that? Through theatre.
No, the advocacy that grew out of that has led you to collaborate with a lot of NGOs and civil society organizations. There's a particular play that you guys did recently.
Talk and Do.
Yeah, something like that.
Talk and Do was at Alliance Francaise in Lagos. It was also in Kano and Abuja. It was supposed to go to Edo and other states, but we couldn't due to COVID. With Talk and Do, we were dealing with addressing the issues of impunity, corruption and accountability amongst the leaders. So we brought in leaders from the police commission, from the police force, from the judiciary, from the Nigerian Bar Association, from other CSOs, from the community as well. We brought them all into a room, made this theater piece called Talk and Do. And for us, just the way the name sounds, it is what you say, do it, practice what you preach. So, and then we brought them, performed this piece that had to do with how they're treating issues of people with disability, issues of police brutality, the deteriorating judicial system, and all of these issues, real issues that happen. So we performed for them, and afterwards put them all in groups, including the artists, to have a conversation, to discuss what's the feedback, what's the commitment, what are we committing to do after this, what do we want to do better.
Okay. Now, when you look at such a performance, the curious mind in the public would say it's convenient for young people to point accusing fingers at the leadership. What
These issues, the issue of Yahoo ritual killings, I don't think and I don't believe they are issues that can be exhausted so quickly, because the root cause sometimes are just something that they are quite disturbing. Sometimes you look at the background, where some of these people are coming from, and then you look at the pressure that the social media is putting so many young people through, and these are some of the things that has driven so many young people. It has driven them. They say, you know what, I want to get rich quick. For me, I say it's greed. Like the popular saying, you want to chill with the big boys. You want to roll with the big boys.
Yes.
I mean, these are the things that drive most young people. When I was 18, I never dreamt of driving, 504.
Yeah.
I never dreamt of driving a 504. It was beautiful from afar.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I appreciated it.
Yeah.
But all I knew is that the time was coming when I would drive a car.
Yes.
But not at that age. So what young people fail to do now is they fail to follow process. My father taught me to enjoy process. He said something that has never left me from when we were young.
What did he say?
He said, it is better for you when you're writing an exam. He said it's better for you to fail and fail honorably than for you to cheat and pass. So for each time in the university when I did a course and I failed, and people say, what did you? I said I failed it. I'll do it again. So that for me is a lesson that has and will never leave me as a person.
Sure.
Yes. So for me, I think these pressures in the society are those things that are driving young people. Process. Young people now don't want to follow process. They don't want to endure the process.
You know, carefully, when you say something like pressure from society, it sounds as though the home were being pushed out of that equation. What is society without the home?
Very true. The first place a child learns anything is the home.
Yeah.
I learned, my behaviors were built from my home. So the home is the first place that children learn, that young people learn. And it's so sad that some of these young people are put under pressure from the home. So many times I have a nephew that I've raised for a long time. And many times I would say to the mom, don't ever compare your son to someone else. Your son is your son.
Yeah.
If he gets this and that grade, he's your son. Don't tell him that, see, your friend is getting that grade and you're no. This is his grade. So whenever he comes back with his grades and I'm like, okay, you got this, you got this, you got this. I say, wow, fantastic. This is good. But you know, I know you can do better. That's so. Let's strike a deal, make it better. I do not ever try to compare him with someone else.
So that's positive pressure.
Yes.
The negative one will come in the area of
it's destructive.
Money.
Why? Yes. So why not be like this? So when young people see that, I mean, some parents. I have a friend whose mom would curse on her when she needs money. Just would do anything for her to give her money, and she often says, "So this woman know how to get money." So those pressures most of the time would lead people to doing what they would not normally want to do.
There was a story I read of Professor Sam Aluko of blessed memory, who returned to Nigeria with his PhD and all that, got a job, and he went home with a car. And everybody in his village celebrated him and all that. In the deep of night, he said that his father and mother called him and said, "Where did you get money to buy that car?" And he now smiled and told them, "Oh, that car is on loan, that he bought it on loan." These days, people buy cars and nobody's questioning them. Young people. Would you take a car home and your dad will welcome you?
I mean, let me say this. If I take a car home right now, my father, if he were to be alive, would still question me. Yes, he would still question me like, okay, so what do you do? What he's trying to do is, he's not saying that I cannot own a car now, but he's trying to vet, what do you do? Your job, is it able to get you this lifestyle at this particular point in time? But these are the things that some parents don't do. Some parents don't care. Our society right now, we've come to a stage where, you know what, just make it. We don't care how you make it. all we want to do is we want to celebrate you. Now the latest big boy be that.
So Joshua, where does that lead us?
It leads us into destruction.
But we don't want to be destroyed.
Yes, we don't want to be
So
destroyed.
what is Kenenso going to do?
Kenenso is actually doing a lot.
Yeah.
We're hoping to do more. With support, we believe we can do more. We've, over the years, touched almost everything that affects us as a people. Aside treating the subject of malaria, of cancer, we did a research for about 2 years and came up with a script on a play and some short campaign on a work called Sniper. And Sniper focused on depression, mental health, suicide. Why young people would rather just die rather than, I mean, I don't think when my parents or the older generation during their time, when they fail or when they're unable to buy the big cars, I mean, even though they were not even, the race wasn't even about to buy the big cars then, the race was to impress the family, impress the society, be the light of that, of that society. But they wouldn't die, they wouldn't jump off a cliff or into the river. But now, so Sniper tried to deal with the issues, and we met with families of people who have committed suicide or victims, and it was quite an intense project. So we touched the area of Sniper to let young people know that you're doing fine, choose life first, hard work, do not devalue hard work. Take responsibility. You fail, you try again, you move on. So with Sniper, we've done that, and with Join Body was Sorry and Join Body. We had a performance called Sorry before the election in 2019, and we had Join Body after the election. What Sorry did was, with Sorry we went to different stops in Lagos.
Stops? You mean bus stops?
Bus stop, yes. Ilaje bus stop. Obalende, Yanoba. We kept going from place to place around Lagos to perform to young people, market women, young and old, to let them know that their vote is their power. Even though you think you're old, Nigeria cannot give you anything. For those coming, they still need you to vote. So for young and old, we really interacted with a lot of street boys, Agbero, under the bridge. We were able to convince some of them. It was quite impressive working with them. With Join Body as well, we also looked at the aftermath of the election. Why violence? Why is that the way? Why do we, in the name of political party, break apart? How can we come together to decide and say, this person we've elected into office, you must be accountable. We must, as we were saying earlier, we must have your phone number. We must know what you're doing. We must be able to monitor the work that you've promised to do for us as a people.
No, the interesting thing is that on the one hand, society complains about young people feeling so entitled. On the other hand, the young people complain about the older generation, that they don't want to leave the scene. But can you say that the younger generation is prepared to take over?
No, we're not. We're not prepared to take over, and it is still it is pronounced in our body language, our attitude. We have a friend called Effective. He's a radio presenter. Effective now is vying for the, I think, House of Rep office, and he's finding it difficult to even bring his own friends to understand his vision and to support him. And we keep saying politics is for the old people, it's a dirty game. It will keep being dirty until we get involved. But to answer the question, we're not ready. And why do I think we're not ready? I think we're not ready because what we consume does not reflect a generation that wants change. What we consume in terms of content, in terms of in terms of our social behavior, even the economic behavior, it does not reflect it. we still reflect Nigeria is not working for me. The government has done nothing for me. So I either jackpot or I stay here and make it reach anyhow. And with that attitude, we really cannot do anything.
I totally agree with him. Young people, we are not ready. And the reason why I'm saying we are not ready is if we take a look at the lifestyle and we want to separate generations from one generation to another, now the values that our parents had as a generation is totally different from what we now see as values. So today, our lifestyle, we've all thrown away our values to social media. So the social media instructs most young people on what to do. And for me, I'm scared because I have little ones, younger ones, nephew, and I'm asking myself, is this what they are going to come up to see? We've seen 18 years, 17, 19, wanting to drive a car, wanting to use the kinds of phones.
Well, they can drive a car if they have access to the car.
Yes. But they want to buy. They want to buy a house. So I had a friend, a sad story. We left the village together, came to Lagos. He went to school, studied electrical and electronic engineering, University of Lagos. And when he came in, he was fascinated by the lifestyle. He saw young boys driving tinted cars. And the next thing was that he wanted to drive a tinted car. Wow. I was satisfied trekking to school. I was glad doing it. But he wanted to drive a car. And today he's no more.
Oh my.
So he bored for 2 years, like they say in our time, and he left the scene. So for me, this is a problem that our generation
But how do we solve it? It can't be all that gloomy. There are still young people who are hardworking, who are dedicated, and who are committed to making a difference in society. Seems we're not hearing so much about them.
That's where I think for a generation that is prepared or that wants to show that we are prepared, we need to begin to celebrate those people, the people doing small things. We know a few of them. A lot of people don't. And it's not about the big things. It's about the small
things. Yes.
The small, many things. We know Isaac in Ajegule. We know Shiwa Ubaju in Bariga, who started a free school.
Yeah.
He built by the seaside. He bought the land, I think about 250 per plot. He bought about 6 plots with wood, and him and his friends, they built the school. And all the children within that community, when you're driving on Third Mainland, that, the wooden area part you see of Bariga, every child, now they have over 300 to 400 children from primary 1 till JS3, SS3 presently. And actually last year, some of them wrote JAM and WAEC, and they came out in flying colors.
That's the kind of story we should be telling.
Exactly.
Hold on. We'll take a break now, and when we're back, we'll continue that. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Timeless Conversations. Before the break, we were talking about celebrating the members of the younger generation who are making positive waves. And you were talking about the free school. That's one Mr. Awubaju.
School, yes, Awubaju.
Okay.
In Bariga. The school has about 300 to 400 children, and Sean has had to regularly find a way to raise funds to pay the teachers and for the children to attend the school for free. And the government, the Lagos State government, has seen the good work they're doing and they're looking at ways to help.
So,
There's also a Bolore in Oshodi who built Jealousy Art Center and teaching every young person that's interested within Oshodi painting, adire making for free.
Really?
Helping them to exhibit, also looking for platforms for them to exhibit anything they make and get it bought by people and then thereby making money. So quite a lot of people, also at Kinso, we are also doing quite a lot with young people and we should begin to celebrate.
so that's the thing you said about process. That to make money, there's a process. To make an impact in society, there's a process. The process doesn't need to be created by government, though.
Yes.
Because all this you said now were created by those young people
Yes.
who had the inspiration to want to do something. Now, the inspiration you guys have is being expressed in the area of advocacy, of theater, of the moving production that you move from one point to the other. However, what about getting involved in politics? Why are young people running away from politics? Why?
I think it's still that thing of that question of what has the government done for me? They fail to remember that the government is you and me, whether we like it or not. You know, call it whatever you want to call it. The government is still us, and until we can speak together, get engaged, and that's the way forward. No time for fence sitters anymore or back sitters. We want change. You're sure that you want to do something good. You're sure that you have great ideas. Step forward. Let people, and don't expect to be supported at that point. You know, but keep trying. That's the thing. Everything in life is about, you know, trying again and again and again. But as we've discussed earlier, our generation, we don't have that focus. We don't have that ability to concentrate on one thing and put all our energy and effort into it to understand, to achieve the big picture. We believe that it starts now, it has to be successful now, it has to come out fine now. If it doesn't, then it's not the way. But getting involved in politics is the way to go now, and not just getting your PVC.
Yes, I was going to say, okay, so do you have a PVC?
Oh yes, I do have my PVC.
Okay.
And a long time ago, I changed my mind about politics being a dirty game.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Tell me the story.
About even if I vote or I don't vote, the person who's going to win will still win. So I changed my mind a long time ago, and it took me to the point that I left my house. I walked for like 30 minutes just to go and vote.
That's a very long trek.
Yes, I did it just to go and vote. And when my friends heard the story, they were like, Kushel, patriotic Nigeria, change maker. And I'm like, you know what? If we are all going to come out and say, you know, we are going to vote, it's going to make rigging an election very difficult.
Yes.
When people come out and vote, it makes rigging very difficult.
Yes.
But that's one point that we don't understand. And for young people going into politics, we always have the ideology that politics is a dirty game. So if you don't want to play dirty, don't go into politics. And this has also been a mindset that has been spread around even Christians and Muslims.
Yes.
People that say, oh, we are Puritans. We don't want to soil our hands in a dirty game. And I'm so glad that right now we've realized that we have made a mistake.
Yeah.
If you want to change things, then you need to be in the gathering where decisions are made.
Yes.
So if we don't get into politics, how do we even want to change these things in the first place? How do we even want to choose our own leaders? Someone was saying, oh, thank God I didn't vote. I said, thank God me, I voted. I might vote and my candidate does not win, the person I voted for.
Yeah.
But I have one thing. I voted for someone. That is my point. That is what I want to take home.
Yes. So now, if we mobilize to get young people involved in politics, what should be the drive? For instance, the impact of social media was felt during the recent NSAS protests that took place majorly were firstly in Lagos, Abuja, and then spread to other cities or states in Nigeria. The mobilization was done majorly through and by social media. But the coordination of, okay, what to do beyond the protest failed. Because if you talk to government, if you talk to anybody who is in leadership, you call attention. They must have people to relate to. That didn't follow. A political party could have emerged from that protest. So as young people, what kind of examples can be set for your generation, by your generation?
So I would say that passion, that will and drive we had during the NSAS protest, if we continuously have that for another 8 years, then this real change will start. Our generation, we must understand that in everything we do, we must be willing to compromise. We must be willing to stoop to conquer. We held the nation for a week or more, and we could not make anything out of it. Why? Because we wanted to be louder than we were already. For me, at that point, I was saying, my opinion was, we could have gotten, we can't get the presidency, we can't get it. Not because we can't, but because we're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
So, it was always a good example. But at least, if our generation had asked for seats in the House of Rep at that time, if we had asked for if we had taken major decisions, if we had asked for local government seats to, some local governments around Nigeria, because really that's what the change is. The change is not totally up there as far as I'm concerned. The change is the local government chairman who's doing interesting things in his community. So in Lagos, if we have 20 local governments or 15 filled up with young people, that's a great achievement.
Young people who are working.
Young people who are working, who have a vision.
Because there are young people who have already joined the old bandwagon.
Exactly. So I think that's the way to go. The way to go is not to bid for the biggest. The way to go is to bid for the many small, the councillorship, the House of Rep, the House of Assembly. That's what we need to start from, because those are the people actually making the law. Those are the people controlling that immediate environment. So for me, that's my recommendation.
That's what's yours?
For me, my recommendations would be that young people should learn to support people for a cause, not for my cause.
Okay.
So.
Or what's the need for me?
Yes, what's in it for me? If we are going to be working to build a nation, let's build a nation. For instance, I don't want to support a Joshua because when he gets there, he's going to give me all the contracts in the States. I want to support him because when he gets there, he's going to do what is right for the States.
Yep.
So that would be something, so I don't have expectations that, oh, I supported him, I gave him all my support because I wanted this and that from him. I'm supporting him for the greater good. And then young people should also learn to use the social media to their advantage. We have used the social media for every other thing right now, and for more negative things than positive things. I think we should be able to use the social media now for more positive things.
Yeah.
The social media is a platform for people to converse, air your opinions and all of that. Why not use it positively? If I'm to run for a position now, I have a platform of the social media to campaign. I have the platform of social media to tell people, this is my dream, this is my vision, this and this is what I want to do. So let's use that platform well. Let's not abuse it.
I'm smiling now because of what you just said and realizing that a lot of people on social media make noise. Many of them don't have PVCs. And whether we like it or not, we need to keep up the campaign for PVCs, because that's when the statement, your vote is your power,
Yes.
makes sense. You can't vote without a PVC. And many young people deliberately are not enrolling to have their PVCs. Is Kenensaw doing anything in that regard?
Yes, we're doing quite a lot though. Of course, we have our pieces, and jokingly last week at the office, I was saying, how can we, I want to create a TV show. How can we gather people that are our own personal people, about 1,000 people, to get their PVC and vote through a prank, because we watch prank videos everywhere. And then I was just thinking randomly like, okay, at least if I begin to count people from my church, people I know from all sorts, everywhere, I should be able to get at least 500 people that I know. My WhatsApp, I have over 3,000 people on my WhatsApp. So how can we get them all to have their PVC? Let me cook up a lie that I'm vying for a position. They will want to vote for me. I mean, well, maybe not vote for me, but I know the 500 that would respond to my call when I make the call that I want to have a meeting, and they will come. Have your PVC. So these are some of the things we're thinking of. We're also thinking of creating the ideal Nigeria, the ideal future, because we know that that's the power of storytelling. Mm-hmm. Tell people for something over time, let them hear it over time, let them see it over time. It begins to register in their consciousness. How can we create a campaign where we no longer show the sad Nigeria, the pain in Nigeria? How can we begin to show police as what they should be? How can we begin to show our schools, the education system, as what it should be? How can we show in pictures, in stories, how can we show justice being delivered on time? So these are some projects that we're thinking of that would help the young people to change the mindset, to change their perspective of things, and take charge of the political space.
Now, you said something about there being money in theater, in the dramatic arts and all that. How do you rate the coming of Netflix to the Nigerian space? How? The impact you think it's had or it's having and could even further have on the income?
Okay, so I would say it's a good development. We should always expect change to come. And why I'm saying it's a good development is coming into this space, we now have the opportunity to meet these people one-on-one. And if I have a work that is good, I now have a platform. I can always run around and try to get them to see it. Yeah. It might be difficult, but just the fact that they are there gives me that hope that, guys, you know what? Let's just keep doing this thing. Yeah. One day, they're going to see it. So for me, it's a good development. And of course, it's good money. It's good money for the pocket.
Are you planning anything towards being able to tap into the Netflix money?
Yes.
Or let's say Netflix opportunity?
Opportunity. Yeah. Yes, actually, since 2020, we've been talking to a distributor who's also on the Netflix, who's also a Netflix consultant, who sources for films and so on. And we haven't, not that we haven't found the ideal story yet, but we personally, I would say, I don't know what it is. We have great stories. We have great work. We have great stories, scripts already, stories. But maybe the time hasn't come. Yeah. That's how I believe. That's how I see it. That when the time is right, the the right content will find the right platform.
That's what he said about process again. That it takes time.
Yes.
You prepare for it. When the opportunity comes, then
Take it.
to say it in the parlance of the younger generation, you blow.
I just want to say this in light of this, what we're discussing. Maybe it would make sense or help anybody to understand what we mean better. Since we started Kenenso in 2011, our dream has always been to, yes, tell stories across Nigeria, but be that organization that would employ 90% theater graduates and take them around the world, make money, get exposed, gain more knowledge, and so on. And from the first year until the third or fourth year, we kept trying, we kept contacting universities abroad that have theater departments, and it wasn't working. And the first opportunity, second opportunity, we were slammed this time. It didn't work. And after the second one, while planning for the third one, we told ourselves, we discussed, we said, this will be the last time. This will be the last time. And indeed it was the last time. And we moved it to the point where the embassies in Nigeria are the ones who then look for opportunities for us abroad to say, we found this or we know these guys. We want you to come do something with them. So the process never fails.
That's the power of process.
Yes.
Right? And taking your time preparing, not giving up at all. Now, with the experience you've had now, you started some almost 11 years ago, and respectively between you, each one of you will be anything between 30-something and 40, right? In about 10, 15 years' time, you'll be about 50 or a little older. They'll start calling you old man. What do you see yourselves doing in the next 10, 15 years?
I see myself still telling stories, but most importantly teaching.
Okay.
I apologize for using those words. I hate the way the system of teaching and training in Nigeria. It's like a war zone. So that's why I train, that's why I facilitate workshops quite a lot, from team bonding to any other thing. In 10, 15 years' time, I want to keep training, I want to keep developing people in different fields, not just arts, in business of creativity, in different art forms. People need to be able to not just communicate effectively, but through the arts, through this training, know where they want to go, know what is right for them.
All right, so Anifa?
I'm not going too far from that. Yeah. And the reason why I would say teaching, training people is so far we are products of people that have gone ahead of us, even though we don't have the opportunity to really learn from as much people as we would love to. That's why I would say teaching. I want to be able to open my doors and have 50 people, 100 people who say, you know what, I actually learned from this guy, and he's a great guy. And for me, it's a ripple effect. When you teach people, you are giving them a part of yourself that you don't get back. And when you teach them, they teach others who teach others. So it's a ripple effect.
So that's like you're both committed to giving back to society.
Yes.
For the opportunities you have had.
Yes.
Before we go, I'd like to say to both of you that you're such an inspiration.
Thank you.
You are. And you show that there is really hope for our country and society. But I want each one of you to look into the camera and say to your generation what you want them to do. Joshua?
Okay. Take responsibility. Take responsibility. Know that if you have a sister, if you have a brother, they are looking up to you, and you can't do things for them because you want it in return. So if you open up that mindset and do it for everybody, for the greater good, then things will change. Those things you want will change.
And yeah, Phil?
Wow. I would say to my generation, life is a process. So endure the process or enjoy it and wait for your time. Your time will surely come. And don't ever forget, in whatever you do, a good name is better than riches.
Yes, and it's been a wonderful time with these two gentlemen, Joshua Labi and Aniefio Iyang of Kennesaw Concept Productions, right?
Yes.
I have enjoyed myself, and you have really lifted up my spirits and hopes about the younger generation in Nigeria. Until the next time on this program, it's been nice having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Good morning, I am Destiny Momo and this is the news brief. Fire has gutted shops under the Akpongbon section of the Echo Bridge in Lagos State, causing gridlock and crippled commercial activities around the Lagos Island area of the state. Though the cause of the fire incident could not be ascertained at the time of filing this report, it was learned that goods worth millions of naira were destroyed by the inferno. A Lagos State Traffic Management Agency tweeted that men of fire service and other security agencies are on the ground and that CMS Bridge and Echo Bridge inward, outward Akpongbon at the moment. And also President Muhammadu Buhari says the $2.5 billion Dangote fertilizer plant in Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos will boost Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and accelerate economic growth. Buhari spoke on Tuesday while inaugurating the 3 million metric tons per annum production plant. And according to him, the establishment of the plant demonstrates the commitment of Dangote Industries Limited to the socio-economic development of the country and the well-being of Nigerians. The president expressed optimism that the investment in the plant would replicate the group's earlier experience in the cement sector. And that's where it had become a leading name in Nigeria and across the African continent. He noted that the agricultural sector was a critical aspect of the economy and availability and affordability of fertilizer would lead to increased yields for farmers. And still on, President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, to fast-track the planned concession of the 4 major airports in the country, saying the concession of the Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt and Abuja terminals would further propel development to the sector and grow the country's economy. The president, who gave the directive during the commissioning of the new terminal of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, constructed by the China Civil Engineering and Construction Company, CCECC, also asked the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, to source funds for the immediate construction of a second runway for the Abuja airport. He also lauded the Ministry of Aviation and the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, for the completion of the new terminal, stressing that it would further create more jobs for qualified Nigerian youth. And the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, says the Nigerian Army will continue to meet the security expectations of all Nigerians and also pledged the Army's commitment to providing a safe and secure environment for the socio-economic development of the nation. Yahaya said this at the opening of a 3-day senior command and leadership seminar organized by the Department of Army Training at the Headquarters 3 Division Nigerian Army, JOS. In a statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Wachuku, on Tuesday, the Chief of Army Staff said the efforts of the troops across theaters of operations had continued to yield tremendous results, adding that conflicts had transcended beyond the traditional warfare to cyber and media warfare. And the General Officer commanding GOC 2 Division, Major General Gold Chibuisi, has charged the officers and personnel of the Nigerian Army to be professional in discharging their duties for the betterment of the country. Chibuisi made this known during an opening ceremony of 2 Division Inter-Brigade Corporal and Below Competition 2022 held at 32 Artillery Brigade, Owena Cantonment, Akure. The GOC, who was represented by the Brigadier General Umar Abdul Kader Muazu, Division Training Officer, said that it had become imperative for all the officers and personnel to engage in activities that would help keep them fit in order to curb the activities of the insurgency in the country.
The goal of the competition is to improve leadership traits, organizational ability, use of initiative, and esprit de corps among personnel in that category. Above all, it is designed to prepare them for battle, especially in tackling the present security challenges in the country. In a bid to achieve this, relevant events geared towards enabling the participants imbibe the goals of the competition were carefully selected.
continue to take advantage of this opportunity to improve on our individuals and collective effectiveness in two divisions in order to be able to achieve the vision of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, which is a professional Nigerian army ready to accomplish assigned mission within a joint environment in defense of Nigeria. The key issue in the vision are professionalism and joint environment.
The Nigerian Senate has called on security agencies in the country to be proactive in the fight against insurgency, banditry and terrorism, and this is to prevent loss of lives and property. The Deputy Senate President Ovie Omo-Agege made the call following a point of order raised by the Deputy Whip, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, representing Niger North District. Rising on Order 42, Senator Sabi Abdullahi drew the attention of the Senate to the recent onslaught by bandits in his senatorial district.
On Monday, 14th of this month, the bandits in large number, riding on motorcycles with sophisticated weapons, left their Zamfara forest, abroad, and came into Niger State through Mariga local government and Rijal local government. As a result of this, they moved in and had a temporary camp in a town called Libale. Libale has a forest, and that forest is contiguous to the ones leading to Zamfara. And having came to Libale, they encamped there in Anaba ward of Magama local government. Mr. President, on Tuesday, they proceeded where they launched a massive attack against a tomato company in Magama local government.
In his remark, the Deputy Senate President Ovie Omo-Agege commended the swift intervention of security agencies. He, however, urged them to adopt a proactive approach to protect citizens against the criminal activities of insurgents, kidnappers and terrorists.
These bandits are perfected for use in perpetuating these criminal activities. One would have thought that the security agencies will actually do a better job in quarantining that environment. But from your personal explanation, it's also clear that they've done their best. They were not unmindful of that, and they were able to at least come back with a reprisal to take them out. But would have wished that they took a proactive action, not an action coming after lives have been lost. But be that as it may, we'll continue to encourage the security agencies, to do all they can to police as much of our territory, especially in Niger.
And the Senate thereafter held a minute's silence to mourn those killed by the bandits in Magama local government area of Niger State. And the Senate has resolved to debate the ruling of an Abia State High Court ordering the deletion of Section 84(12) of the Electoral Act. The Senate decision was circled to a point of order raised by Senator Thompson Sekibo.
Coming with this order, I don't have anything against the judge, but Mr. President, the difference, what the man is relying on in his judgment is not the interpretation of the Constitution. The Constitution defines for us who is a civil servant and who is a public servant. It does not include political appointees. It does not. More so, Section 4 gives us the power to make good laws. And in our mind and our mindset, any law we are making here is a good law. Now, Section 228 gives us also the power to make certain laws to guard the independent National Electoral Commission so that it can effectively discharge our function.
This Senate, here and now, look into the issue concerning the attempt by the court in Abia State to oust some sections of the bill we just passed into law concerning the issues surrounding the public servants in politics and who want to run elections and all issues thereto. I second it and ask that this Senate discuss it here and now.
But the Deputy Senate President, Senator Omar Agege, who presided over Tuesday's plenary, suggested that lawmakers delay the debate until the next legislative session. He said this is to accommodate the absence of the Senate President and other legislators who weren't present to also participate in the debate. After listening to the contributions of other lawmakers, the Senate resolved to suspend the debate until its next plenary sitting on Wednesday.
The reason I took this decision is because I want a fuller house. I want a fuller house for this debate because this matter is very, very fundamental and it will be good to have the input of all senators. And I'm not sure that people had notice. I'm not sure that people were privy to the fact that these discussions will arise this morning. So I think it's in the best interest of this chamber that we give all of our colleagues, or as many of our colleagues as possible, the opportunity to show up tomorrow. And
INEC has developed a continuous voters registration exercise to all the wards across the state. The State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Professor Abdul Ganiyu Raji, was speaking in Osogbo at the Election Stakeholders Forum on the evolution of CVR. Additional 278,835 eligible voters are said to have registered in the ongoing voters registration exercise. The state governorship election is about 115 days away from now, and INEC has now developed a continuous voters registration to wards level. Papers were presented on steps involved in the new registration and the need for people to avoid double registration.
We are committed to ensuring that all eligible voters who have not or could not perform their civic duties of registering as voters due to distance are provided with the opportunity to do so more easily, like I have mentioned. It is in the light of this that I am urging and appealing to this gathering to assist the Commission by sensitizing and mobilizing the members of the public to take this advantage to either register or transfer their voting rights to new polling units, to the polling units, especially the newly created polling units, which are closer to their residences, as doing so would provide the Commission ample opportunity to have even distribution of 500 voters in each polling unit.
Machine can develop faults, but where you have faults in many polling units, then it becomes something questionable. They should put their house in order, prepare themselves very well for this exercise, and assure the people the credibility of the votes. However, I want to also advise our people to go out and make best use of this opportunity provided for us, that the registration is brought nearer to the people by using word. I think it is very good.
We were told that about 4,000 candidates were registered online and they have not completed it. It means that 4,000 voters are disenfranchised to vote. There has to be a way of doing that. Reach out to them again to facilitate the way to complete the registration for them and to help us. And two, the media is a very important organ of the system. Please.
The national chairmanship race of the APC has another contestant. He's Senator Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District of Niger State. Senator Sani said if voted in as national chairman, he will transform the APC into a political party that will impact positively on the country and Nigerians. He said if elected as national chairman, he will ensure reconciliation, reorganization, reconstruction of the party.
I do not think there's any responsibility that I will not be able to sit being it a participatory one, that different ideals will come in, I don't see how I will not be able to steer that ship. There is no any other time that we can make APC what it should be than now. What is that thing that APC should be? We should make APC a strong institution. Instead of making APC having strong individuals, let's as much as possible make APC have strong institution. Be a strong institution where policy formulation, where leaders can be groomed, where the welfare of Nigerians can also be looked into because we are closer to the people.
And on Street Views, residents of Imo State are calling on government to intensify efforts by making sure those behind attacks on security, formation and other nefarious acts are brought to book. Take a listen.
For the past few months in Imo State, we've been experiencing a lot of insecurity, talking about the unknown gunmen and the burning of houses and the setting of some places ablaze. Yes, is an act condemnable that every citizen of Imo State should condemn. It's true that the government has actually not come out on the open to fish out the perpetrators of these dastardly acts. But as a matter of fact, they have made kind of serious insinuations about people they are alleging that they are involved in this act. But we have to still urge them, as a matter of fact, because we are citizens of Imo State. Our lives are in danger if they don't act fast. We want to call on the government of Imo State, led by the distinguished Senator Hope Uzodimma, to step up actions towards ameliorating the situation, because the situation we have at hand is very precarious.
See, that's still on insecurity. You can see so many persons who are patriotic Nigerians have separately condemned such art. It is not good now. It is not good. But these guys are doing this thing for one or two reasons, which I know government is aware why they are agitating and doing these things. I'm not in support of what they are doing. It's not good. This is our own property. It's our thing. We should, guide our team judiciously instead of, taking them to destructions.
Our system is balkanized. And what I will only advise the government is to get to the root of it. They should call these boys, they are our people. Nobody should pretend that they are not known. Nobody is unknown. These people are coming from homes, communities, local government and the state. So they are known. Nobody can say they are unknown. Please, government should do something to fish them out and dialogue with them.
And now moving on to other parts of Africa. The trial for the October 1987 assassination of former Burkinabe President Sankara and his colleagues has resumed after the Constitutional Council rejected a defense petition. Military prosecutors in Burkina Faso are requesting 30 years in jail for former President Blaise Compaoré over the murder of his predecessor. The Sankara trial was suspended in early March after the defense petitioned the Constitutional Council. The court had been previously asked to find Compaoré guilty in absentia of an attack on state security, the concealment of a corpse, and complicity in a murder. In another development, Burkina Faso's 71-member Transitional Assembly has formally taken office 2 months after a military takeover led to the ouster of former President Kaboré. The Assembly will be responsible for voting on text of reforms planned during the transition. The establishment of the legislative body follows the adoption of a transition charter in early March. It was drawn up after consultations between the ruling junta political parties, unions, and civil society organizations. Moving on, South Africa has relaxed some of the remaining COVID-19 curbs, dropping mandatory negative results for inbound fully vaccinated travelers, a move expected to boost tourist numbers. President Cyril Ramaphosa made the announcement to scale down restrictions imposed when the coronavirus arrived in the country in March 2020, as new infection rates slowed and deaths are fewer. Previously, all travelers entering the country were required to produce a costly negative PCR test.
Due to the changing nature of the pandemic and due to the progress that has been made through our collective efforts, we intend to lift the national state of disaster as soon as public comment on the health regulations published by the Minister of Health have been completed. We therefore enter the third year of this pandemic more hopeful than ever before. While the pandemic is not yet over, and while we remain cautious, we see many parts of our daily life returning to normal.
And now, moving on to news outside Africa, rescuers in southern China have continued to search for victims from a China Eastern Airlines jet after it crashed on Tuesday with 132 people on board, as authorities have said severe damage to the aircraft would make it difficult to establish the cause of the crash. Flight MU5735 was headed for the port city of Guangzhou from Kunming, capital of the southwestern province of Yunnan, when it plunged from cruising altitude to crash in the mountains of Guangxi less than an hour before landing time. Rescuers, including about 600 soldiers, firefighters, and police, combed heavily forested mountain slopes in southern China using shovels and torches in their search for victims and flight recorders from the jet. And now on business news, the Federation Account Allocation Committee has shared 695.03 billion naira to the three tiers of government as revenue for February, amid plans by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, to deduct 242.53 billion naira for subsidy. The FASC Director Information Olajide Oshundu, who disclosed this in a communique after a virtual conference, noted that the gross revenue available from the value-added tax for February was 177.873 billion naira, as against 191.222 billion naira distributed in the preceding month of January, resulting in a decrease of 13.349 billion naira. The distribution shows that the federal government got 24.845 billion naira. The states received 82.818 billion naira. Local government councils got 57.972 billion naira, while the cost of collection to FIRS and NCS got 7.115 billion naira, and allocation to the NEDC project received 5.123 billion naira. Moving on, the United States and Britain have announced in a statement they have settled their dispute over special tariffs on steel and aluminum imports introduced under then-President Donald Trump. According to a statement from Washington, Britain will be allowed to import historically based sustainable volumes of steel and aluminum duty-free into the United States again from June the 1st. The British government, in a statement, said the UK will suspend rebalancing measures on US products, including whiskey, blue jeans, and motorcycles. And on entertainment news, Britain's Prince William and his wife Catherine arrived in Jamaica during their Caribbean tour amid renewed scrutiny of the British Empire's colonial legacy. The royal couple greeted officials as they disembarked from the plane at Jamaica's Norman Manley International Airport, and a military band played to welcome them. Dozens of people gathered outside the British High Commission in Kingston, singing traditional Rastafarian songs and holding banners with the phrase, "Say you're sorry," a local patois phrase urging Britain to apologize. And now on sports news, world number one Bhatti has decided to retire from professional tennis at the age of 25 and at the peak of her game, citing the fulfillment of her tennis goals and fatigue with life on the tour. She retires with 15 titles, less than 2 months after winning the Australian Open, her third Grand Slam singles triumph following the 2021 Wimbledon and 2019 French Open. She spent a total of 121 weeks as world number one.
So grateful to everything that tennis has given me. It's given me all of my dreams plus more. But I know that the time is right now for me to step away and chase other dreams and to put the rackets down. I've had a lot of incredible moments in my career that have been pivotal moments, and Wimbledon last year changed a lot for me as a person and for me as an athlete when you work so hard your whole life for one goal. And I've been able to share that with so many incredible people. But to be able to win Wimbledon, which was my dream, the one true dream that I wanted in tennis, that really changed my perspective. And I just had that gut feeling after Wimbledon and had spoken to my team quite a lot about it. And there was just a little part of me that wasn't quite satisfied, wasn't quite fulfilled. And then came the challenge of the Australian Open. And I think that for me just feels like the most perfect way, my perfect way, to celebrate what an amazing journey my tennis career has been. As a person, this is what I want. I want to chase after some other dreams.
And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Destiny Momo. Thanks for watching.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayiwa Mesali, and today I'm joined by my amazing co-anchors. See Aizo, Juto Soro, Alera and Nama. How you ladies?
Hi.
You're looking amazing. Wow. Did you guys plan a memoir? And I was not aware. There's a
great
wow.
I didn't even see it. I think we're vibing telepathically. You know?
Awesome. And we have a guest co-anchor today. She's joining us via Zoom. Goodness Armstrong. Hi, Goodness. Is she there? Oh, Goodness, we can't hear you. If you can hear us, unmute yourself. She's joining us live from Abuja. She is actually a HR, she's the founder of Startup HR. She's a HR professional. Goodness, can you hear me? Okay, I think we'll try to connect with Goodness. So today we're having an interesting conversation. Twitter was on fire.
Fire.
Let me use what's that guy? Femi Bab's voice. Fire. Twitter was on fire yesterday, and it was as a result of what's it called? Some publication that came out on Tech Cabal about horrible bosses, and they did a tweet space on it. Come and see how people are just
pouring out
all their pain and all of that. So we want to discuss
they've had.
Absolutely, want to discuss handling horrible bosses and toxic work environment, and that's why we actually have Goodness joining us, on the show today. And here's what we found as today's quote: "With power comes abuse of power, and where there are bosses, there are crazy bosses is nothing new." So just take it there. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Damilare Dosumu of Tech Cabal published an article yesterday, "Tyranny in the Workplace, the Chaotic Culture of Bento Africa," which sparked up an outrage on Twitter with a disturbing story of past employees who expressed disdain over the brutal treatment received from Ebun Okumbanjo, one of the owners of Bento, a company that provides payroll management software to about 900 businesses, including Tangerine Africa, Paystack, Kobo 360, Branch, and Lorry System. So it's our ladies' night out. And Norma Alero and our guest, Uncle Goodness Armstrong, and I are discussing handling horrible bosses and toxic work environment. And when we open our phone lines, we really love to hear, please, if you have experiences like you love to share, you can remain anonymous, is fine. Share your experiences and let's hear what, your thoughts are concerning horrible bosses. If you've had your own fair share, we'd really love to hear what you have to say. But we'll do that. Let's take a break first to see what we found in the news. All right, so you're still watching Ways, National World Water Day. Yeah, I'm the only one complying today. Held on the 22nd of March every year since 1993, focuses on the importance of fresh water. World Water Day celebrates water and raises awareness of the 2.2 billion people living without access to safe water. That's a really scary number. Now, it is about taking actions tackle the global water crisis. A core focus of World Water Day is to support the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal 6 that holds substantial quantities of water. Groundwater feeds springs, rivers, lakes, and wetlands and seeps into the ocean. Groundwater is recharged mainly from rain and snowfall, infiltrating the ground. Now, groundwater can be extracted to the surface by pumps and wells. Life would not be possible without groundwater. So most arid areas of the world depend entirely on groundwater. Groundwater supplies a large proportion of the water we use for drinking, sanitation, food production, and industrial purposes. It's also critically important to the healthy functioning of ecosystems such as wetlands and rivers. We must protect them from overexploitation, abstracting more water than is recharged by rain and snow, and the pollution that currently haunts them, since it can lead to the depletion of this resource, extra cost of processing it, and sometimes even preventing its use. So please, by all means, find a way to protect the groundwater around you. So happy World Water Day.
I go drink water and I like this.
I think there's a conspiracy today. Our glasses are empty.
That's your cup of empty.
Cup of water.
That's the cup of empty. All right, so who are we starting with? Let me start with you, Norma, quickly. Your story. Then I don't know if we have... Goodness, are you there now?
I said my village people cannot make me not join this session.
Not possible. We'll be fasting and praying.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you. So we're going to come back to you in a minute. But let me just take what Norma found in the news, then Alera as well.
All right. So my situation is like ironical because I found these two stories really interesting. Now, Ukrainian girl who sang "Let It Go" in a bomb shelter performed her country's national anthem yesterday. So 2 weeks ago, this young girl, Amelia Anisovic, performed the popular Disney song "Let It Go" in a hidden bunker where they were
sheltered amidst all of what was going on, the war, Ukrainian war and all of that. And yesterday, she had the opportunity to sing the national anthem. I mean, if you listen to her, it was just it was heartbreaking, because in the midst of all of this crisis, you see the unique and genuineness in a child. Now, contrast this situation of heroism and courage in a young child to the Ukrainian politician's wife who was caught at the border trying to sneak $28 million, that's about 1.3 million euros, cash to Poland, to Hungary, and she was caught at the border. So, it was really interesting. Here's a young girl trying to give hope to her people, and then somebody else is sneaking away
money
with cash. And these are women at different levels. And it just tells me how adulthood can sometimes rob you of the sincerity of childhood and all of that. And, wow. It was just ironical for me.
Well, when I saw this $28 million, I said,
in the heat of,
I hope Nigerians are understanding that it is not
only
only Nigeria.
It's not Nigeria alone. I didn't want to go play in the blame. It's not Nigeria, and feel comfortable that
because
other
guess
people
what?
are doing it.
Norma, calm down. Because guess what? We are always quick to say Nigeria is corrupt. Nigeria is corrupt.
Corruption is everywhere.
Corruption is
everywhere.
But let me tell you the difference. Some people have laws that if they catch you, you understand, you're gone for life. That's why that's what is stopping them from stealing. If
but
not,
they will still attend.
But I understand where Norma is coming from, because this is a time of survivor. Everybody's thinking
so
of how.
Who is telling you that she's not planning to
So
survive?
our survivor is first creation of solutions for global impact. I mean, when I saw this story, I was really excited, because I mean, a lot of multinational companies don't start in Nigeria. They probably start in other African countries, but I'm happy that Microsoft has chosen to start in Nigeria. So Microsoft launched its first African Development Center in Lagos, Nigeria, 2.5 years after announcing it. The project cost the tech giant about $100 million to put together, according to the information gathered by Business Insider Africa. Located at the King's Towers in Ikoyi, Lagos, the African Development Center will house Microsoft teams working on project engineering, ecosystem development, innovation, and the Microsoft Garage. In the meantime, Nigeria Microsoft Office Development Center is expected to be launched in Kenya soon. I mean, this is great news, which means that we have Nigerians that can actually get opportunities in this field, which is really exciting for me. So awesome. I'm just really excited about this. Yeah, it's great news.
Okay, so
that's my former company. So
yeah, I was just going to say that. Goodness, you want to chip in something there since you recently just left Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, super excited. I was still there at the launch of ADC when they started newly. ADC's been here for a while. They've already started doing work, so I think this is just like an official launch of the building. I'm so super proud of them. The country manager, Ola Williams, is a mentor of mine, so super proud of what they're doing. And yes, like you said, it's a good opportunity for younger people to get opportunities into these kinds of companies locally. I mean, in a time where a lot of companies are moving their headquarters to Kenya and Ghana, it's some good news.
It's refreshing, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Ola, goodness, sorry, I said Ola. What did you find for us in the news today? Goodness.
So I think my gist is the hottest gist, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you've gone through Twitter, in fact, if you slept yesterday, you missed, because Twitter was buzzing. So Tech About did publish an article about one of the co-founders of a company called PlusTvAfrica, and the title was very captivating. Tegos Ebon Okubanjo, co-founder and CEO of PlusTvAfrica, said breaks are for pussies. Oops, sorry. I hope you can say that on television.
No, we can't say that.
And whoever takes time out, and whoever takes time out of the office for a whole week is a weak member of the team and not needed in the organization. So this article was basically about horrible bosses, toxic workplaces, and it gathered a lot of conversation yesterday. There was a space with over 16,000 people talking about their experiences with toxic workplaces and toxic managers. there were investors, it was a really interesting read yesterday. And it hurt so much to see the stories of people who have worked in organizations and left broken by bosses and organizations that didn't really, value them as employees.
Awesome. So that's the topic of the day. So I'm excited. That's why you are here with us today. Right. All right. So I found it very, very interesting. Congratulations, first of all, to Nigeria. Finally, all the people that are traveling outside of the country, you have some level of decency with your airport. So there was, of course, everybody knows that President Muhammadu Buhari was in Lagos today. He had visited, what's it called, the fertilizer plant. I think it's the biggest in the world, I hear. Yeah. Then the refinery is the biggest in West Africa, if I believe. So he also commissioned the airport. So it was, I'm just focusing on the airport. It's in partnership with CCECC, that's the company in partnership that built this airport. So I think there's also something like the federal government will be. Remember the heat that welcomes you when you land the airport.
Who cannot remember it?
So this is a long time coming, yes. And we want to see many of this, yes. Because we are hoping that another airport will be built at the Lekki-Ekpe Express route. So we want more of this. This is what we're talking about. You can steal money if you want to embezzle money. Embezzle money. Right, but let us just see that work is being done.
I'm not for wicked.
And yes,
like the truth is, if they do. So for instance, you collect a contract of how much? Just like what happened last week. The what's her name? The politician that bought transformer for the community.
Imagine
you just went
50 million to paint a
50 million naira
to paint
how much is a new transformer?
Do you understand?
I mean,
we know that we can't stop you from eating money, but when you want to eat, please work so that we will be happy. All right. So on that note,
Lord, may they maintain that airport.
Pray. So that's the prayer. But so we are having the conversation tomorrow with an aviation expert, right? Because I really want to focus on that because that's the biggest issue that me I'm seeing. It's not about building; it's about maintenance. But let's take a break now. When we come back from the break, we want to discuss horrible bosses,
horrible,
and toxic work environment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, Bento, as Goodness had earlier recounted, took everything from me, my sense of humanity, sanity, confidence, and trust. That's Pascal, an ex-sales executive at Nigerian payroll startup Bento Africa. He said about his time working there rather. Now, we worked around the clock, that's what he said. Ebun, that's the CEO and the founder of the company, would send you messages by 2 a.m. and expect a response ASAP. No rest. We went to bed every night praying our jobs will still be there. When we woke up the next morning, praying our jobs will still be there when we woke up the next morning. Now, new research has found that being overworked is not the reason people leave their jobs. A Danish study of about 4,500 public service workers has provided credence to the adage that people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. Now, according to the psychologist Matthias, one of the researchers behind the study, we may have a tendency to associate depression and stress with work pressure and workload. However, our study shows that you handle this situation. This conversation yesterday when I was on that tweet space, it was Even at some point, I just ran away because I was really feeling for the founders, that's the employers, and I was at the same time pained for the employee. So I don't even know how do we even start this conversation. Goodness, maybe you help me here.
I mean, again, I got a wind of this information before it came out. Not the details, just that something was dropping because the chief editor of Tech Kamal is a friend, and so when she had hinted that something was dropping and the ecosystem is going to shake, I was just like, it can't be more than horrible bosses and some mean workplace. I mean, because for the longest time, I've been an advocate for great places to work, innovative cultures that consider people and just treat people like human beings, right? Because I've been, since my time at Microsoft and then now consulting for startups, you just see that there are lots of people who don't understand that the burden of running a company is more than building a product, right? It's also about managing people, because people are the essence of your work and your business. But the stories of yesterday were just too much. Like, you hear some things and you're like, is this even possible? You read some emails and you're like, is this the same email we send, or is this something else? You know, and you begin to wonder. So the thing is, a lot of people come from broken backgrounds as well in terms of work experience, right? So our bosses had different experiences, similar to different from what we have now. So you see that people have carried on those experiences and they bring it into today and act like, yeah, if I send you a message at 2 a.m., you must be awake to respond. And that's weird and strange. People don't have respect for boundaries. Hard work is equated to slavery, or slavery is equated to hard work. It's just a lot going on. So I don't know who to pity for, to be honest. I feel like everybody should be called out. Employers today, employees tomorrow. We should all be.
But goodness, before I come to Norma and Alero, you know, when COVID started, and there was the policy that forced a lot of companies to allow their staff work from home because of the restrictions and all of that. It seemed that this thing you're talking about, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., it seemed like the staff didn't have their time to themselves anymore, because you didn't have an excuse not to respond to emails. You didn't have any, you know, there was no specified time to say, this is the time I am working. So all of a sudden, do you understand? I mean, because already, are we not used to these things already? Why is it becoming a problem for people? Because with COVID, I hear a lot of my friends that work in like proper 9 to 5 always say that I don't have my time anymore. Every day is work day. I don't even know when it's morning. I don't know when it's evening. You know, this is the regular complaint.
Don't think of it as something that you're entitled to as an employer. And a lot of us worked out of our hours during COVID because, again, even employees, I would say that some employees are empathetic, right? So they know that I'm not going to work, so it's fine, right? I'm not spending that time in traffic, so I can give extra time to work. Now, people have gone back. A lot of people have gone back to physical work. A lot of people have gone back to their regular 9 to 5. A lot of people are no longer working remotely. So you can't, and then there's traffic now. There's forecast, like so many things are happening, and you can't keep placing the burden of those kinds of things on people, right? What I would say is for people to understand that, draw the line, right? Draw the line. When people are supposed to respond to things, and we're sticking on this instance because there's so many others, right? So from the verbal abuses, let's not forget about the time on responding to emails. How about the verbal abuses? But all of a sudden we can go home at 5 o'clock, really, just to save you diesel. So you see the elements of selfishness and not thinking about people in these policies. You don't feel like it's about you as an employee. You feel like it's about the company. So when you go to places where you're treated differently, you know the difference. But for now, a lot of people don't even know the lines between toxic and what's normal anymore.
In fact, the toxicity is now the normal. Because, I mean, I was going to say something about COVID. So imagine for you to actually love the job you're doing, because, I mean, there's nothing compared to that. And then there's another thing when you now have to bear, you know, and that you manage an overbearing boss, or manage, you know, doing extra hours. Because, I mean, I've worked with somebody that sends an email or sends a message around 2 a.m. but she will tell you the next day that I'm not expecting you to respond though. That's the time that I am mostly...
she's mentally alert.
That's the time that I mean, I love to work at 90. It helps me collect my, you know... But there are some people that... I mean, I know a couple of people that anxiety has overwhelmed their life. Forget about personal struggles. So you're at home, you're dealing with your personal struggles, then you now come to work where you spend most of your hours, and then you don't have peace of mind. Your boss is probably calling you, you're anxious, or your hands are shaking, you're sweating. I mean, it's a lot of... The reason why it's emotional for a lot of people, even though there's either people that have experienced it directly or people that have heard about, you know, these stories, is really, really painful. And it's so painful that, I mean, when I listened to that podcast, I was so emotional because it dips, it's like, you know, somebody said that it's like Nigeria, we have embraced poverty. Outputs at some point felt like it was an olodo. He didn't know anything. Only for him to now change jobs, and the little thing that he expected somebody to just, you know, commend, at some point he wasn't expecting that anymore. But now in his new place of work, they're commending every little thing he does, and it's this strange station to the workplace. By the end of the day, what happens? First, there's first scarcity, the cost of food has gone up, and you're underpaying these human beings. How do you expect them to survive?
With insults and threats.
With insults, with honor.
And a lot of hypertension.
I'm happy that this conversation is really happening. And I mean, based on the conversation that's really happening right now, and everybody's really urging that there's an organization that is supposed to be handling things like so much.
It's a very unfortunate situation that is going on, and when you said that over 250,000 people, we even saw a heightened level of even leave space for people to before they went back to work, or how they dealt through the COVID period and all of that. So then you now want to go back to work, business as usual, and the situation press is aggression that is being transferred one way or the other. They didn't come out or start off to being the mean bosses that they are. Something brought them there. Something made them who they are today. And they're only projecting their experience circle continues to go round and round and round and round. Who are dealing for some reason and have turned you to the object of their situations and all of that.
You know what? Boss has decided that he wants to be a mad person. Do you understand? Where are the checks? Where are the balances, right? I remember a friend